Alright, so as many of you are probably familiar with the current situation, thousands of games have been banned from itch.io, and hundreds of games have also been banned from Steam. Now, the ban was out of the blue. The developers weren't even told the reason. The current situation is still extremely ambiguous. People aren't really aware what type of story would get your game banned, what type of story would get it approved. There have been horror games that got banned, video games like Mouthwash, and video games like Fear and Hunger. And so, as you can imagine, people are extremely upset. A lot of developers are absolutely desperate. I mean, some individuals that actually have a passion for creativity and they don't want to be corporate shills and they want to start their own project were absolutely devastated when they found out that tens of thousands of dollars that they invested in their project was for naught. And the payment processors hold their money, right? Like, people are really upset. They're trying to raise awareness, to find solutions for the current issue. But obviously, that's not enough. Like, it's one thing when a schmuck on Twitter decides to call in a payment processor's hotline to ask for questions. And it's another thing if an advocacy group would step forward. And this is what happened today, right? Like, finally, we got an advocacy group. We got Ukie. Now, for those of you who don't know, Ukie represents around 500 to 700 businesses. They represent the video game industry in the United Kingdom. And so, they have some weight behind them. And perhaps they can come into the public and say something for people to listen. Right? Like stuff like, we demand that the payment processors make very clear standards and very clear rules of what is and what isn't allowed. We find it unacceptable that payment processors for a decade have allowed certain games to exist, and all of a sudden, unilaterally, they decided to change course, destabilizing the industry and ruining the lives of thousands of people. Something in that line. But let's see what they said instead. So, they respond to the adult games being pulled from Steam and itch.io after pressure from payment providers. We believe payment providers and platforms alike should have confidence in the age rating system. Fucking genius. So Ukie has responded, directing payment providers and platforms towards existing age rating systems and suggesting that they should have trust in them. The UK game industry champions creative freedom while taking responsibilities to players seriously. Clear and consistent age ratings are a crucial part of helping people make informed choice about the content they engage with. That's why Ukie strongly supports the use of robust classification systems like PEGI across all platforms, including those hosting adult or experimental content. This ensures that content is labeled appropriately, that younger audiences are protected, and that creators can punish with transparency. I knew that the United Kingdom is a mental asylum, but can you please, for the love of God, get some people that actually know what they're talking about? Because I'm looking at the British politicians and they move their mouths and they say only things that are beyond absurd. And now that finally I see an advocacy group coming from UK and I have some expectations, they managed to be unable to surpass even those. First of all, what the fuck is he talking about? The PEGI system. That doesn't even apply to Steam. The PEGI system is a European system. It takes a lot of time and it takes a lot of money. The PEGI system is usually used by AAA games that have the ability for this time and money. A developer that makes a smooth game for $10 fucking as his first project and wants it on his resume so that he can show to some twat, look, I know how to code, is not going to have the money to get a PEGI rating, you dumbass. And secondly, PEGI doesn't even go into adult games. They will issue a non-classification. It doesn't mean that the game is illegal. They're pretty much saying, like, the people we hire don't want to review that stuff. So yes, they will not review Fear and Hunger because it has a pixelated penis in. These individuals, like, holy fucking shit, dude. They don't even understand what the situation is about. And not only that, like, I get what they're trying to say, right? They want to inject themselves into the conversation without actually saying anything meaningful. It's like they want to remind people, hey, we exist, give us our money. I would fucking gladly donate some money to them if I actually knew that they had competent people in charge willing to fight on behalf of creators. But if they come in and they show that they don't even understand the market, they don't even know what the fuck they're talking about, then all they're saying is like, we need to trust the classification. All of the adult games were classified. Steam doesn't use the PEGI system. However, Steam uses a different system. When you promote a game on Steam, you get to fill out a survey. During that survey, they ask you stuff. What themes does your game have? And you go like, okay, well, it has alcohol and tobacco. It has themes of violence. It has nudity. It has curse words, foul language, blah, blah, blah. And then Steam, based on how you check that list, it rates your game. And, if your game doesn't have any pornography or any hardcore violence, it goes on the safe list, right? It goes onto the main page. If your game contains adult content, then it goes onto the other page where people have to go out of their way in order to access it. They have to go into the Steam settings and they have to go at the filter and they have to say, yes, I want to see all not safe for work games. And then they have access to the other type of games. And then Steam also makes sure that your games doesn't have any minor presenting characters in it, right? Like no 7,000-year-old vampire chick. Like that doesn't exist in Steam. That you don't have a character that's of age but is dressed like a schoolgirl. That's also not allowed. That you don't have a character that looks underage. Like they don't allow any of that shit, right? In the adult games. If it takes place in a high school, right? So like Steam already makes absolutely sure that they're following the legislation because there's a lot of nations on Earth, a lot of countries where that is illegal, even if it's fictional, even if it's drawn, right? So like Steam is taking the precautions. And they did a good job up until now. Last time I checked, most people weren't even aware that Steam has adult games. In other words, like, look, I'm not unreasonable. Like, just because I think that adult games should exist, I also don't think that whenever I log Steam, I need to see a titty in my face. Like, I do have principles. I do understand, but so far I think that Steam was doing a good job. However, now you have the payment processors making like a list of additional demands that didn't exist up until now, such as, make sure that your game doesn't have hypnosis. Make sure that your game doesn't have this fetish and that fetish and this fetish and that fetish. And when you look at it, okay, so you can't have 50 Shades of Grey, you can't have a horror game. And this is why people are upset. People are upset because they're confused. Like, what the fuck do you want from us? Like, we're writers. We're creative talent. This is why we don't work with corporations. This is why we do the adult smut. Like, at least we thought that if we do this, you leave us the fuck alone. And to be fair, after the mountain of shovelware, like, there are actual adult games that genuinely have story. Specifically because, number one, making an adult game is a lot easier. Right? Like, the mechanics, the stuff isn't as difficult. And you have, like, creative writers that were so sick and fucking tired of the mainstream industry where their stories are constantly criticized, saying, oh my goodness, the way you treated this black character. Oh my goodness, the way this woman is treated. Nah, nah, nah. And so they're like, okay, you know what? Fuck it. We're just going to make an adult game because we know that those chuckleheads, those moral busybodies, fuck away from them, right? Like, we're gatekeeping the moral busybodies by making adult games, and we're going to have, like, some actual story going on. And so you may have, like, an adult game with a detective, right? And at the beginning, he manages to get into a gunfight, shoots a woman, and later on, in a completely different setting, he fucks a woman. Completely different one, right? Well, apparently that game can be banned. Why? Violence towards women. Why? Because it's an adult game. But it's different scenes. Doesn't matter. And this is why people are upset, right? Because, like, what they're doing is they're completely sanitizing an entire industry. And this is what gamers would actually like for an advocacy group to talk about. Not to go like, oh, well, there's a rating system. And it's like, yes, everyone was following the rating system. I don't think there were many people that were unaware that they're buying an adult game. Or that they would go on Steam and all of a sudden they would see a titty. Like, before the robust age verification, I think that Steam was the platform with the biggest robust age verification. In other words, as I mentioned before, like, you had to go out of your way to click the settings, to click the box that you want to see those games, and then you had to type a name of the game, and then you finally would get access to it. And then you needed a credit card in order to buy the game. Like, it wasn't so simple. And the games would be region blocked in Germany, which is another country that's a mental asylum. Like, the same reason, right? Like, they wanted game developers to set their game for verification. Like, go to a PEGI-style verification, and it costs, I think, like $2,000. And if you get rejected, you lose the money. Now, again, if you're a AAA company, yeah, sure. But if you're like a random indie title that wants to sell your game for $10, who the fuck has the money to do that? Right? So this is why Germany is region blocked on Steam. But it is what it is. I'm a little bit disappointed because to me this looks like a grift. Like, no one asked them. If they didn't have anything to say, they should have shut the fuck up. But they don't want to go against the payment processors, right? Like, they don't want to say, hey, maybe the payment processor should actually give some clear lines of what is and isn't allowed. And maybe they should also make a difference between porn that has real actors and is done with real people, and then the fictional shit. Because sometimes, you know, like, people want to play fictional shit specifically because they don't want to just watch porn happen. Like, they want the story, they want something, and you can't have Game of Thrones in there. Because, like, all of the settings would be bad, right? And then, or people that just want to create horror games. If someone wants to create a new Manhunt game, like, that would never be allowed. And the question is why? Like, was Manhunt destroying society? Was it really that fucking bad? Like, in order to get good games, you also need to get 1,000 shovelware games. It's how it works, right? Like, why destroy the entertainment industry for nothing? Again, there's people's jobs at risk. And it's not just the fact that it's the people's jobs. Like, I know so many individuals that started off in the smooth industry, making, like, pixelated graphic shit. And then they managed to launch a couple of titles, got enough money, and actually launched good indie games. I can't name them because I would have to give you the pen names, but, like, trust me on this. Like, some of the best indie games that I have played were created by the developers who actually started in the smooth industry. And they made some, you know, slop, but was enough to sell somebody and be able to begin a business. And this, by the way, like, takes money away from the real porn industry. Because, like, people are paying money for this shit, for the pixelated stuff, and they don't pay money to a strip club. Like, in any way, whatever, you know, how you feel about it, I do believe that it's a legitimate business. And it's creative. Like, you have voice actors, you have people that draw this, you have coders that code. Like, it's artistic. It's not the way the Australian are hyping it up to be. Or the way that I've heard it back in the 90s. It's, murder simulator. And now it's a rape simulator. Like, get the fuck out. And you know what the Collective Shout fails to mention? It's like that No Mercy game barely had any people playing before they talked about it. Like, there weren't that many. I think it managed to have like 100 concurrent players. At the great scheme of things, like where you have games that have hundreds of thousands, and some games even have millions of players, who the fuck cares about like a couple of dozens? And then Collective Shout makes a big fuss, it gets into the press, it gets into the media, and all of a sudden they get like thousands of purchases. Tens of thousands. And so, like, you know, the idea is that if they would have just left it alone, it was already working as intended. No one was playing that, no one was caring about that. But they like to fearmonger, they want to sell fear, and they want to pretend that the problem was bigger than it was. And instead of this being the argument that Ukie could have made, they're like, oh, well, the payment processors should trust on the age rating. It's like, yeah, but that's not what the conversation is. Like, they're aware. They want to look at the age rating. Like, their problem isn't that games for adults are being sold to children. Like, that's not the argument here, right? The argument here is like, well, games for adults should not have certain themes. Even if it's fantasy, even if it's pixelated in a video game. It's like, okay, but like, people want to have some gameplay. And so if you have like an RPG, or if you have a side-scroller, or you have something like that, like, how can you make it without having certain themes that are specifically to the video game environment and not necessarily to the stuff that you would see actors perform? Anyway, right, it is what it is. Big disappointment. I guess the UK didn't deliver again. Their politicians are delivering enough, right? So their advocacy groups have failed. Let me know what you think, and I'll see you guys on my live stream. Take care.